The October 28th, 2009 meeting of the Ways and Means Committee will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Adair. Here. Ms. Andrews. Here. Mr. Bronson. Here. Mr. Driscoll. Here. Mr. Haney. Here. Mr. Hyder. Here. Mr. McCann. Here. Mr. O'Brien. Here. Mr. Quattro. Here. Mr. Tucciarello. Here. Chairman Barker.
Here.
Thank you.
Tonight we are privileged to have Kate Bennett from the Rochester Museum and Science Center to lead off with a presentation for us all. Kate?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. I have the honor of being president of the Rochester Museum and Science Center, and I am first here to tell you a deep, profound thank you for all the support that the Monroe County Legislature has given us over the years. Since 1968, you have been steadfast in your support, and in these tough times, we don't take it for granted, and I promise you that we spend your money really, really, really well. When the county took over for the city as the responsible party, helping us be the municipal museum we could be in 1968, 2/3 of our support came from the municipality. Today it's less than 20%, and we make the dollars grow as much as we possibly can. With that funding, we care for collections, we inspire the community, and we are eager to do what you all say you need for the community, because you all have your fingers on the pulse of what the community needs. One of the things the legislators said to us years ago when I first started asking questions was, we need help with economic development in this community. We really need to make sure that kids make choices to go on in math and science so that we have more individuals going on in technology fields that really are part of Rochester know-how and the businesses that are part of of what we've been in the past and what we could be in the future. So we have been working to create a new exhibition called Innovation Place, and the story we're going to tell is Rochester's entrepreneurial and inventive past, with the goal of creating the next generation of entrepreneurs and inventors. It'll be no small task to create the next generation, but we are working hard on it. And one of the things we've done is we've brought the Business Hall of Fame to the museum. We inducted Tom Judson from the Pike Company just a couple weeks ago, Gregory and Ferdinand Smith of J Advertising, and John Legestri of Food Fame into the Hall of Fame, along with the Cunningham Car Company. Now, the reason I love the Cunningham Car Company is we have a Cunningham car at our museum that we recently put on display. It's an industry that's been going since the 19th century. It used to make carriages and coach whips. I mean, that was a company that figured out how to change to stay with the times, went into cars, ultimately did go out of business because Rochester did not become a car community in more than just use of cars, but George Eastman was interested in the white-collar business. In any event, we are having fun putting together this exhibit. Over to my right are some examples of some of the historical events that have happened in Rochester. We took the liberty of going to 2020 when the James Webb Space Telescope goes up. And Rochester Know-How is involved in that through the ITT, people who used to be the Kodak people. So we're thrilled. We're going to keep telling these stories, and we're going to excite people. Jell-O, marshmallows, all sorts of things you never knew. And the first vending machine, the pulver gum machine. Who knew? 2 in 5 jobs will be based on technology fields in the next 10 years. So we've really got to make a big movement towards that. So we need kids to take 4 years of math. We need them to take 4 years of science, and we are that pipeline. And you know that we're a great tourism organization also. $198 million industry in Monroe County. Not us alone, but us together. The Titanic exhibit, thank you so many of you who have come to that. Titanic has brought in 12,000 people so far in the first month of its on display. People are coming in from everywhere. People are buying gas. They're coming from Buffalo. And we're really pleased to play that role in the county. We're now part of the Erie Canal Heritage Trail. We're part of the Underground Railroad Heritage Trail. People come to New York State to learn more. We're here to help them. So we thank you very much. We welcome you to the museum, and we truly could not do what we do without you. And I thank you so much for your support. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Do we have any speakers signed up for public forum this evening?
We do have one speaker. Bill Wynn, you can come forward and address the committee.
Hey, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Most of you know me. I'm Bill Wynn. I'm the Interim Executive Director of Monroe County's Cornell Cooperative Extension. First, just a little recap on most of you are familiar with, but others might not be, the last few years. In December '06, at the meeting to vote on the 2007 county budget, the county ledge cut Monroe County's Cornell Cooperative Extension $175,000 from the previous year's budget, plus another $30,000 contract for Farmland Protection Board responsibilities. This was all brought about after the normal budget hearing meeting that year, and the associated dollars, over $200,000, were all redirected to Monroe Community College. The extension was level funded at the same level of $225,000 in '08. The executive director at the time resigned her position later in '07, and the first of two interim directors was brought on board. I'm the second. These and other internal action steps taken due to the magnitude of the cut in the '07 budget have had a tremendous rippling effect, leaving Monroe County's Cooperative Extension a shell of its former presence. In early '08, my immediate predecessor directed what was called the Futures Task Force, including 4 county legislators, LaFountain, Dobson, Bronson, and Gamina. After a series of community-based meetings facilitated by a consultant, the report was produced in June of '08, titled the Futures Task Force Report, and that can be found on our website. I'm sure most of you have seen it. Some of the report's recommendations served as a basis in last year's budget request to recoup some of the funding lost at that December '06 budget vote meeting. However, we were level funded again in '09, and after also unfortunately contending with a rumor that we're going to be zero funded. We took a renewed look at the task force recommendations in our 2010 budget planning and developed what we thought was a well thought out proposal in light of current conditions and emerging needs. We reviewed our proposal with the 4 task force legislators, the legislative leadership teams of both parties, and the county's budget and finance directors, and Jerry Helfer. Without exception, we were applauded for our proactive, forthright, and detailed communications, although obviously there were no guarantees of any future funding increase. We understood that. And once again, the proposed 2010 Monroe County budget has level funded us for the 3rd year in a row after the unfortunate cut in '07. I will tell you, it's been suggested that perhaps we should consider being level funded as a raise, given the state's economic situation. That's perhaps an alluring thought in this day and age, but the fact of the matter is that the budget as submitted for 2010 projects a deficit operating budget for the 3rd year in a row. Obviously, this can't continue, and many of you know the leadership your local extension has provided regarding regional cost-saving strategies and fundraising initiatives. So we are doing much more than simply trying in an attempt to stay afloat. One particular program has faced the most stress over these past 3 years, 4-H youth development. About half of the $58,000 increase proposed to the county for 2010 would significantly improve 4-H administration and free up what remains of our local program staff, which is 1 person today, for more program and club development in Monroe County. The remainder of the proposed increase was intended to go to other regional programs, including our agriculture teams, horticulture, and a new renewable energy initiative under discussion. Bottom line, we have listened and in good faith attempted to act upon virtually all of the recommendations contained in the task force report. And we've even reduced the price tag of most of the original recommendations by aggressively pursuing regional and collaborative alliances. Please note that regional, when I say that term, encompasses 14 county extension associations, including Monroe, and we're in touch with all of them. In closing, last-minute budget adjustments by the county ledge worked against our community-based mission and programs 3 years ago. We hope that that apparent precedent might be partially reversed this year through the legislature amending the budget to include our proposed increase of $58,000 for a total appropriation of $283,000 in 2010. That's still a big difference from our $400,000 appropriation prior to the 2007 budget. So I appreciate your attention and thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. You have the minutes from the September 23rd, 2009 meeting of the Ways and Means Committee in your folder. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. New business, Madam Clerk.
Just so you realize, I made an error on the agenda, and referrals 321 and 322 are listed, although they are not stamped in for review by the Ways and Means Committee, so I apologize for that error. The first item is referral 090309.
Moved by Mr. Quattro, second by Mr. McCann. Questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090310.
Moved by Mr. McCann, second by Mr. Adair. Any questions? Legislator Andrews.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And through you to the administration, I was just curious if we could get some statistics here about the number of participants each year in the mental health and the drug treatment court. Through you.
Through the chair, I don't have those figures on me, but I can certainly provide them to the chair later. If you would accept approximate numbers, I could give you those. For all of the specialty courts, currently in the misdemeanor Rochester Drug Treatment Court, we have about 400 clients. In the mental health court, we carry about 50 clients. In the Veterans Court, which is not listed on the referral but was created after this referral was prepared, we have approximately 25 clients. And the new Judicial Diversion Court, with felony drug court, we anticipate having anywhere from 250 to 300 clients a year.
Through the chair, do you have data that talks about the success rate or the number of graduates from all of those courts that you could provide?
Through the chair, we don't maintain any data on recidivism rates for specialty court clients. The courts actually have that data available, and I will use my best efforts to obtain that for you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Are there any further questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090311.
Moved by Mr. Adair, second by Mr. Tucciarello. Questions on this item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090312.
Moved by Mr. Tucciarello, second by Mr. Driscoll. Questions on the item? Mr. Haney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I noticed the funding is going up $322,000. But last year's grant was only for a 5-month period, so maybe that's not an annualized. Is the funding going up or down?
Through the chair, I'm Gail Conklin from the Public Safety Laboratory. I don't think that it is really changing much at all. I'd have to figure that out.
So it's flat funding?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090313.
Moved by Mr. Driscoll, second by Mr. Quattro. Questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 090314.
Moved by Mr. Quattro, second by Mr. McCann. Questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090315.
Moved by Mr. Quattro, second by Mr. McCann. Questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090317.
Moved by Mr. McCann, second by Mr. Adair. Questions on the item? Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know this is a small item, but I'm just curious. This is the first year we'll receive this grant. And the traffic cones and posters and brochures that will be purchased through you, Mr. Chairman, do we know if those will include promotion of the donor company or the Allstate Insurance Company? Is it a promotional aspect to it, or do they simply doing this to improve motorcycle safety? Is there a promotional aspect to it, if we know?
Through the chair, as far as I know, there is no promotional aspect to it. I believe their Allstate Insurance name is on some of the brochures, but it's primarily to increase motorcycle safety. We conduct 2 events a year in the spring, usually at Rochester General Hospital, and then in the summer, last year it was at the public market, where we try to provide educational materials on motorcycle safety and provide the cones to law enforcement as they do their training and educational piece.
Thank you. Okay, so there may be like a sponsor logo or something, but that would be essentially it in your view.
Through the chair, that is correct.
Thank you very much.
Any further questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090318.
Moved by Mr. Adair, second by Mr. Tucciarello. Mr. Haney.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, it would appear that this is basically a victim assistance type program. Is that correct? The money is being used to counsel and assist the victims of DWI?
Through the chair, that is correct.
How does this interface? I mean, the county has a victim assistance program on its own. I think it operates out of the district attorney's office, but I'm not sure of that. Will this interface with that victims assistance program? Or?
Yes, through the chair. Once the individual victim's case has been prosecuted and adjudicated, this process picks up from there and assists them as they try to deal with the issues that they've been confronted with as a victim.
So the DA's victim assistance program sort of takes the victim to the end of the legal process, and then when the legal process is completed, this program kicks in. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that is correct. What we're seeing is that many victims have literally years' worth of
Right.
issues to deal with, and this will help them follow up.
Right. Thank you very much.
Any further questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090319.
Moved by Mr. Tucciarello, second by Mr. Driscoll. Questions on this? Legislator Andrews.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the administration. This referral seems to assist with, I guess, the state's estimating 37 new supervision cases as a result of changes to the Rockefeller drug laws made earlier this year. Are those 37 new cases, are these folks who were locked up in prison and then released due to Rockefeller drug law changes, or people who are being diverted from going to prison due to changes in the law?
Through the chair, these numbers, which are mere estimates, and we expect them to be much higher, are a mix of some of those individuals who might be coming back for modifications of sentence, but more so the new cases that will come our way during 2010 and 2011.
Through the chair, new cases meaning, can you explain how you get a case under this, in this situation?
Sure. Through the chair, this would be through an arrest of a felony drug-involved crime, a prosecution in the felony drug diversion program that the public defender just referenced, and potentially either a sentence of probation where had previously that individual would have had a mandatory prison sentence, or a sentence or a placement on interim probation supervision, which is now available for felony drug offenders. So this would be based on a new arrest from this time forward.
Okay. And through the chair, you mentioned that you expect this number to be much higher. What would be your prediction in terms of what the number will be?
Through the chair, we don't have any prediction beyond that, but most counties are estimating that the numbers that we've been given by DCJS are probably very conservative. Those numbers were used to base the allocations on, and the state only had a finite number of dollars to spread out among the 58 counties. So we expect that our caseloads, like the public defenders and the district attorneys, will be impacted quite a bit by the new laws.
Okay, through the chair, so then locally, you don't have any internal projections in terms of what you expect?
Through the chair, internal protections, could you? Projections.
I'm
no.
sorry, from your answer, I gathered that the department hadn't provided any additional number other than the 37, but perhaps you or the public defender have an expectation of how you think the caseloads will increase due to these changes?
Through the chair, no, we don't have any strong numbers. I just heard the public defender identify a few hundred extra clients in his own area. Many of those clients, having not been sentenced to state prison through the new laws, will likely receive probation sentences.
And through the chair, what sort of treatment and structured community supervision will folks receive under this referral?
Through the chair, the two probation officers will be obliged to provide intensive supervision to these felony drug offenders. That would include 4 visits with a probation officer per month at minimum, at least 1 home visit per month, 4 collateral contacts, which would be checking on people who know the defendant and will tell us what their activities are, local police officers, teachers, employers, family members, and monitoring the treatment program that's been required by the court. So it's pretty intensive supervision, and all will be going through the Rochester Drug Treatment Court, which is the parent organization, if you will, of the new Felony Drug Diversion Court.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any further questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090320.
Moved by Mr. Driscoll, second by Mr. Quattro. Mr. Haney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I noticed that this is a new grant this year. Is this part of the ramp up of the effort that's occurring to deal with recidivism, the overall program that's being put together with Catholic Family Center, et cetera? Or is this something apart from that?
Through the chair, it's certainly an enhancement of what the state grant has allowed us to do. That state grant having been approved by this body a few months ago. But this is federal money. It's a different area of money that we had applied for. The goals are the same: to reduce recidivism, to stabilize individuals upon return to Monroe County after a period of incarceration. But it is a completely separate stream of money, the first being from the state DCJS and this being from the United States Department of Justice.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, is this only for federally released prisoners?
Through the chair, no, it's federal money to be used on any returning prisoners. The majority will be those coming back from state prison, and the majority of those will be coming back from the Orleans Correctional Facility to our west.
Okay, thank you.
Legislator Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My understanding, this is rather a unique program in dealing with people coming out of incarceration and involving the families. Through you to the administration, is that correct, Mr. Burns?
Through the chair, that's correct. The David's Place concept was derived from a very successful program in New York City where the concept was to engage the family, to try to move away from government or agencies manipulating the lives of offenders as they return, making them more self-sufficient, engaging the neighborhood, and so on. But it's primarily family-focused.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, and the success of that pilot program was, can you quantify that in some way?
Through the chair, the program in New York City, the outcome measures that were used were a significant reduction in crime in the neighborhood. That's what we would expect to see from this program as well. The program in the city was in operation for about 10 years and closed, not because of a lack of funding, but because they had achieved their goals.
Good. It's an admirable program. Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090323.
Moved by Mr. Quattro, second by Mr. McCann. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090325.
Moved by Mr. McCann, second by Mr. Adair. Any questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090326.
Moved by Mr. Adair, second by Mr. Tucciarello, and we will be voting on this as amended in the lead committee. Have both sides been given the amendments? Okay, it's coming out now. Mr. Helfer, can you explain a little bit?
Mr. Chairman, the amendment that the legislators have before them was adopted at the Human Services Committee, as you noted, the lead committee. This amendment was at the request of the city school district, which requires that an intermunicipal agreement be in place for this agreement, and therefore we wanted to comply with their wishes to do so. This was at their request.
This is at the request of the city school district?
That's correct.
Okay. And it's been amended in the lead committee. Any questions on the item or the amendment?
Can you tell me who moved and seconded? I'm sorry.
In this meeting or the?
No, right now.
Right now. I had Mr. McCann, or no, I had Mr. Adair move it, Mr. Tucciarello seconded it, and we're voting on it as amended. Not the amendment, we're voting on it as amended. All right? All clear. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Thank you. Next item, please.
Referral 090327.
Moved by Mr. Tucciarello, second by Mr. Driscoll. Questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090328.
Moved by Mr. Driscoll, second by Mr. Quattro. Questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090329.
Moved by Mr. Quattro, second by Mr. McCann. Questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090330.
Moved by Mr. McCann, second by Mr. Adair. Questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090331.
Moved by Mr. Adair, second by Mr. Tucciarello. Questions on the item? Mr. Haney.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, just briefly, what is the health care jobs program?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Franklin from DHS is going to be answering that.
Good evening. Mr. Chairman, the Healthcare Jobs Program is a TANF-funded TANF-funded subsidized wage program for welfare recipients.
So this, through you, Mr. Chairman, so this money is used to subsidize the wages of social service beneficiaries when they get a job in a hospital or someplace like that?
Mr. Chairman, that is correct. This is a 100% wage subsidy program. It is in a healthcare-related facility. I want to be clear, it is not necessarily a job involved in the direct provision of health-related services. It could be grounds maintenance at a healthcare facility.
Right. But it's 100, so what's the maximum period that the salary is subsidized if it's 100%?
Mr. Chairman, the subsidy provided is a maximum 6-month period.
6 months. And then hopefully the employee is retained and goes full charge on the employer's payroll, I assume.
Mr. Chairman, that is correct. The expectation in our memorandum of understanding with the employers is that the job would continue at the expiration of the subsidized program.
How many, do you have those agreements now, or is this something to come yet? Do you know how many employers are going to participate?
Mr. Chairman, in round numbers, it's approximately 70 employers are participating between the transitional jobs and healthcare jobs program. There is a great deal of overlap in those employers, representing perhaps 250 subsidized jobs. Quite a number have already been developed, and direct job matching has taken place. The balance are in the works as we speak.
But there's 70 employers that have agreed to participate?
Mr. Chairman, that's correct. That's a round number.
Right, that's great, thank you.
Any further questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090332.
Moved by Mr. Quattro, second by Mr. McCann. Questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090333.
Moved by Mr. McCann, second by Mr. Adair. Questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090334.
Moved by Mr. Adair, second by Mr. Tucciarello. Questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 090335.
Moved by Mr. Tucciarello, seconded by Mr. Driscoll. Questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090336.
Moved by Mr. Driscoll, second by Mr. Quattro. Any questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090337.
Moved by Mr. Quattro, second by Mr. McCann. Questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 090338.
Moved by Mr. Quattro, second by Mr. McCann. Questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next
Referral
item.
090340.
Moved by Mr. McCann, seconded by Mr. Adair. Any questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries.
Referral 090342.
Moved by Mr. Adair, second by Mr. Tucciarello. Any questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 090344.
Moved by Mr. Tucciarello, second by Mr. Driscoll. Questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries.
Referral 090345.
Moved by Mr. Driscoll, second by Mr. Quattro. Questions on the item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Anything else to come before the committee this evening? Legislator Haney.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the Finance Director, I understand that we have sent out an RFP for various audits related to the county's annual financial statements. Is that true?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Is that for the 2009 audit or for 2010?
Through the chair, that would be for the 2009 financial statement audits.
Okay, when do you think, since next week is Sunday, is the 1st of November, when will this be coming before the legislature?
Through the chair, we would anticipate this coming before the legislature in the December meeting.
At the December meeting? Is that enough time for whoever the winner is to ramp up for a 12/31 audit?
Through the chair, they were notified of that timing when they proposed on the engagement, and all of them have accepted that condition that they would be able to ramp up and provide the services needed.
Okay. So will we find the recommendation in our December packet at the November meeting?
Through the chair, we're reviewing the RFPs as we speak right now and are attempting to schedule presentations with some of the respondents, and hopefully that will come in the November package, but there is a possibility that that will come in as a matter of importance.
Okay. Is part of your timing, because of my interest in audit matters, et cetera, I will want to look at the responses that you get as well as the scoring sheet when that's a ripe process.
Through the chair, absolutely, we'll have access to that
Thank you.
information.
Anything else? Being no further business, the October 28th meeting of the Ways and Means Committee will stand adjourned. The next meeting is November 18th at 6 p.m.